repair of a lotus petal that I smudged. But although the word repair sort of assumes that it was broken, and now my way of thinking about it is it was just meant to happen. It was something, it needed to grow a new petal and demonstrate how that was done. So it was just part of the process.
And also you recognize too that it invoked something that a pattern you recognized from your childhood where your perfectionism would get upset, and sometimes you would actually destroy the piece because you got frustrated that something like that happened.
Yeah, I mean, with childhood, it was another dimension to it as well. I would also destroy things because I felt I wasn't deserving of it. Mm-hmm. It was another thing altogether, but they all wove in together into complex little acting out moments with my art if I hit those frustrating times. Mm-hmm. But
Terry Ann says stunning.
Yes, Terry Ann, your pottery is stunning. I agree.
That's the royal his nibs.
Hey, I indulged in nibs at Christmas time. I had a whole packet in 2 drives from Bancroft to here. I need to make a bunch of these with some different curves on them. See, I'm almost squishing that. It's so easy to stick your hand in the sand.
There's no way you could put something that will rest
There's all kinds of ways, but not unless I make something, which I intend to do. I think I mentioned that on a different video that I was wanting to make a little apparatus for resting over the design in places. I think it would be kind of... This is actually a good experience. It reminds me of one time I was doing a really large painting, like really large painting, and it was very heavy canvas that I made myself, and it was standing up against a wall, and I'd already started painting it, working on all the detail, and then there was some kind of a post for a lamp that was right in front of it, and the wind blew it, the canvas, and the canvas fell over the post.
It poked right through.
Poked right through it, skewered my canvas.
I was like, oh my God, when I saw it.
And I just looked at it and my heart fell. And I was in shock. I was honestly in shock. And but then I just gathered myself together and I started researching, and it was a lot of work, even the researching part and then doing it, but now I know how to repair a canvas without leaving a single mark.
That was brilliant.
And that was all canvas restoration, usually because I guess not too many people are klutzes like me and wreck their canvas. This is more for ancient pieces of art, collectibles that are old and need to be repaired. But it was really good learning.
Jeff suggests that you try a tripod with a sling.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be very cool.
I don't know if something like that exists, or you jerry-rig something.
Just jerry-rig it, yeah. No, nothing.
Well, you never know, right?
I actually considered that for tattooing. Mm-hmm. And I've never ever rigged it up. But it's something I thought about for tattooing, to take the stress out of suspending your arm over someone in certain positions. Jeff who?
Jeff, photographer from Fergus.
Oh yes, Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
How's Morris? I miss Morris and Marjorie. I thought about them the other day.
And our coffee sessions.
Uh,
Jeff always had his heated scones, I think they were. I can picture him eating them. He had a special way that the order to how he put them together and ate them. Yeah, actually, Jeff, when are you coming out with your photo group? Probably more likely summer would be better suited, but it's also beautiful in the winter for photos too.
Hi guys, had coffee with him this morning. They are doing great. Ah, so glad to hear. So glad to hear.
I mean, they're still spring chickens. You know, they're only in their 80s.
Yep.
That's nothing, especially for Morris. Okay, so I've got my little orange piece, and now I can put my little yellow piece in. How much orange do I have there?
So Terry mentioned about your patients being extraordinary. Would you say this was an extraordinary challenge to your patients?
It's definitely one of the biggest challenges ever. And I can feel it honing my, whatever that is that gives me patience. It is honing it at every moment. And I recognize moments where normally it would be like crossroads the way I used to go. And I'd see the signpost the way I would go. And then I go, okay, but there's this direction or there's this one that have all these options. Do I still take that one and feel that feeling and get that mood? And I realize that I am in an exercise here. That's part of what this is for, is training ground. Kind of like a military special ops exercise. So I'd realize and I go, okay, this is a training ground. This is kind of a simulation in a way of real life. And I have all these options. And kind of the Mandela gives that sense too, like all these petals, everything's opening up. It's not a closing flower, it's an opening flower. So this is my training ground, and I'm in a sacred energy field that this is creating that kind of protects me in this reprogramming. So I realize all this stuff, it's coming to me, whether I'm making this up or whether it's part of the Mandela, I don't know. But I find little teeny mini increments of decision-making differences. I'm becoming more aware of those moments where I would think one thing or do another, and I have the choice to do it differently. And I think it will reflect on my everyday life. You know, I'll see when. Like I just realized at that moment that it's really not that bad. It's just a grain of sand.
A dot.
A dot.
A singularity.
Yeah. But it's a sandbox. It's a playground for so many things, and it's really empowering in those teeny little moments, knowing that I'm changing the way I act or think. And yeah, it works out really well. Like this was a great opportunity, having this little, you know, what I first saw as a ruined piece. And once in my life, once upon a time in my life, that would have been enough of a reason to just destroy something and start again, because I didn't want to see the proof or show anyone that I screwed up. I wanted them only to see it perfect. Well, a screw up is not a screw up, but that I've also learned over time too.
Terry Ann says, I'm sure your power of will /focus is very strong.
I'm training it, I'm training it, and it definitely, I'm seeing more and more how valuable that is to have a strong willpower for many things, for making things happen. And I think for that reason alone, I would highly recommend people have a little go at this. I really think it's not just something for me. I think it's something that a lot of people that just want to work on themselves and find certain creative things entertaining, at least, enjoyable, to pass the time. This is a great thing to pull out and put somewhere, although not good if you have a bunch of kids running around.
Or dogs.
Or dogs, or a cat, or a budgie. You'd have to have it in a room that's protected, but otherwise, it's a real meditation. And you're doing so many things. You're shifting energy. You're making something happen. You're training yourself. It's just, there's a lot of cool. I've learned when I have a teeny little bit of a color left, not to put it back into the jar, because there's probably a few grains of something else in it, and then gradually I end up with yellow with little red flecks in it, or green flecks or something. It's like static holds the dust inside. I'm going to have to develop a way of, I haven't found anything yet that tells me what the Tibetan monks do to maintain their chakras.
I wonder if certain metals are less staticky. Maybe copper holds a static charge. I don't know.
No, you may know.
I don't know, though.
No,
I'm
but
just
you may be
questioning.
right. You may be right, though.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Like, I'm just wondered why. I thought, oh, they're copper. Is there a reason for it? You know?
Yeah.
Is that...
Well, so far it seems like that's what they use, but I don't know.
Go ahead and ask him if you have a question, Allison.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't see at the very beginning of the mandala. So, did you design everything out in advance, or did you start with a basic outline and then inspiration? You developed the design in greater detail as you went along.
Yeah, Alison, I actually, in this case, because I just chose, there were variations of the sriyantra, and I chose an outline that I found seemed to be the most accurate and worked with what I was wanting to do. I could, if I wanted to, draw in variations beforehand, but I think what I'm going to do is, like when I finish the basic shape like this, I could always go in and just free hand little details, like decorative bits, which would be a lot of fun. And of course that'll all be time permitting. It'll depend on how long it takes me to get to that point, and then do I have the desire, the energy, the willpower, whatever, to put in another 20, 30 hours.
Good morning, Gaia Sophia. Good morning.
But it would be worth it at that point, like say in that sort of pinky purple section that I did large, to put a bunch of patterns in there. So I would like to do that, decorate it. And I did it a little bit with those little circles. I added those in just as an extra. But it's amazing to see how, like, I remember how detailed those little dots, these little yellow circles were. And now, you know, say a week and a half of them sitting here and little vibrations happening. It's like everything's slowly.
But it's settling in.
Settles.
It settles.
Really
I like that. It sort of becomes something of its own.
Hey, I'm almost back to normal again. Look at this.
Yeah, I know. It's looking really good, and it didn't take very long at all. Look at that. A little bit of the burgundy now.
This is my first chalk fur that I got, and I modified it a lot. so that it does a very fine detail, much finer than the other ones that I haven't. And the only reason why I haven't modified the other ones yet is because I'm having some difficulty with them spitting out bits of dark stuff that I've been trying to clean out, and I just feel like last thing I want to do yet is make the little hole in the end smaller while I'm trying to clean it out. So I'm waiting till I hopefully reach a point where the sand stays relatively clean before I make the end piece smaller. What I think would be good is to make some of these where you can change the tips.
Right.
And take off the tip so that you can get in it and clean it better.
Right.
So if and when I ever do attempt to make some of these, and definitely the copper makes it easier to work with, although I could use brass, it's still fairly soft. I would try making something with a removable tip, possibly a changeable tip, because then I can I can pull out the tip and get like a pipe cleaner in there and clean it out.
My question is the chalk pours that were giving me trouble, they were soldered. And I wonder if it was the solder itself that was creating a lot of the problems.
It could be the solder, or it could just be the fact that they were heated up, which created all the crud.
Right, because this one that you're using now, the first one, is not soldered, it's just folded over.
And I thought they did that for ease and, quick way to make the thing. I thought it was like a little cop-out. But now I'm thinking they may have soldered some and then said, you know what, it's really hard to make them work properly. And it's hard to clean them. By the time we ever get them to a point where they're clean enough to use, we have to charge so much money.
Yeah. So guys, if I asked if you have a compressor to blow it all out.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it set up here.
Right now they're being repaired.
For my airbrushing days.
Yeah. Right now your compressors are being repaired.
Well, one of them is.
Yeah.
Right, the medical compressor. But that medical compressor, I need to have a 220 outlet to run. But I do have a smaller one downstairs that I could. Actually, I even have a little one. I have never used it. A little one for blowing up air in a car tire that might be just good enough, small.
Finito.
So there, that was that.
Beautiful. Very well. Do you have time to do one more arrow?
Yeah.
Let's do it. What color are you going to choose? Are you going to do a contrasting one?
No, it has to be the exact same color.
Oh, the pink one on the other side. Pink, blue?
The opposite one has to be the same
right
color, and then the other two will be another color.
That'll be fun because you get to see it sort of on a larger area.
Yeah.
It goes a lot faster than the
Yeah.
smaller one.
And for that, I'll use the bigger.
Yeah, and also I've noticed that you have such a straight line when it comes to the pink border, but there is no line penciled in, like in any of the sections. That's what I was wondering.
I just had to eye it.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So yeah, that would be my little ad lib piece.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was wondering what your approach was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just lined it up with that tuttle point.
Ah, I see. So that was your line of.
Then did a rough line, and then just used this to eye it. I'm really lucky with my tattooing practice. I've developed a good eye for getting to do curves. I don't need a French curve to get that curve. I've noticed that in a lot of tattoos, artists that don't have that ability, and my eye will catch a curve that has a certain curve, and then it kind of shifts without having that perfect way of shifting to some other curve, kind of like the sculpture there from Morris and Marjorie, this little white curl. That curve starts off tight, and then it gradually opens up. It's sort of like a nautilus type of shell. I am able to do curves by eye and see a little shift that's too quick and correct it just by eye. Whereas I've noticed some people just don't have that ability in tattooing or in anything. So they'd have to have a stencil or something, or else they just don't know and they just do them bobbly. And my eye just goes, oh.
I mean, I noticed that, with the tattoos that you start freehand. That's why I was asking the question. but how much of the design has been pre-planned, like lines,
Yeah.
been like lightly drawn in, and how much is really freehand design. So I was
Well,
curious.
with this, as I push my envelope, I will go more and more freehand as I go for sure. I'll have the minimum, just like with my tattoo, the minimum guidelines, and then and leave us, because it's much more fun to not have to for me to not have to follow any guideline. So it's like I create my outer pasture lines as a guide. Like with this, I can work within the parameters of what's already here, and the rest that I put, which I will too. And it's a challenge, because if I want to put things in this area, once I've done it, I'm committed. I can't go, oh, I'll just erase that. Well, I can scrape it all the way.
Snakes and
add it
ladders.
all back, yeah, snakes and ladders. But, so I'll show you what I did. So I go really slow and easy right up against the blue, because I don't want it to pile over. There. And then I go really careful right up against to get my corner effect. And then maybe I might go like something like this. There's my dots again.
Dot man.
Anyway, so then I'm still getting a feel for these tools and finding out what works and what doesn't. And it's very difficult to pull the instrument towards myself unless I'm to the side where I can pivot, or else I have to have my hand floating like this, but then the vibration, as you can see, makes it wobble everywhere, which I can do right here because I know I'm going to straighten it. But you can see, compared to where I rested over here, and that's where I didn't rest, I can control things much better if I'm resting like that. And then what I would do is just eye that edge to what seems pleasant to my vision.
For some reason, it reminds me of colorful cake icing or something.
Yes, it does.
I will let you eat it after.
No, I'll pass. Thanks.
But you could, I guess, do it with sugar sprinkles. They're a bit bigger. Or you could do it with snow if it was cold enough for it to outdoors to not go all sticky. But that's very light and fluffy snow when it's like that. It's not as heavy as sand might be. I would really like to know what it's like to work with the heavier crushed stones that the Tibetans work with, that they color.
Probably way easier.
Oh yeah. So that's my line. Then I would it works. The strategy works very much with I'll call banking, and I don't mean as in bankers banking, but like snowbanks, sandbanks. So the banking of that blue, it has to have a certain height and evenness, like this rod going around, and the more even that is, and a certain height that it has. When I do it with this purpley pink up against it, that stops the sand from scattering, which it does with when there's no sand, or no sand up against it. So when I have something up against it, I now know that I need to make these lines a certain way so that when I put the other color up against them, it stops the color from spreading into the other color. And then I can get a very nice little line.
I love that all the arrows point into the center.
Yeah, isn't it cool? That's what made me like this option of doing this, because I saw it like arrows underneath the...
Right. The ground is pointing in towards the center.
I find it extremely pleasurable going up against another bank of color with the color I'm using, when it's like the satisfaction of knowing that the work I put into getting that other bank even is now paying off. It's very, very satisfying. I think that's what they mean when they say I'm banking on it. Now I'm using my smaller chalk pour just for that, but if I could use my larger one and it would go a little faster, but I'm going to do the border.
Terry Ann's asking, is it like a break when you get to work on a large expanse?
Oh, it's like, it's a bit of freedom for a while. I breathe differently, I'm sure.
Do you hold your breath, actually?
When I'm not paying attention. I do that with tattooing as well, when I'm not paying attention to my breathing and I'm doing a very careful line, I will hold my breath, and that's not good. And I was reminded of that by Morris when we were taking our target practice lessons.
Yes.
In his basement with a air gun, and he was giving us the breathing exercises, and we're not to hold our breath for that moment before we press the trigger, that it actually destroys your accuracy, or doesn't destroy it, it
compromises
it, and to just exhale slowly at that point.
As Sophia said. Oh, sorry. I read people and she said pepper.
Pepper. Oh, actually, there is going to be one I'm planning that will be using pepper. Seriously.
Different spices.
Yeah, different spices like curcumin, turmeric,
ginger,
chocolate powder,
any kind of powder. Yeah, we're going to do a crazy one with. Maybe we should do it. That one for.
The next one.
But yeah, maybe the next sand mandala, and maybe people can make some suggestions what the theme should be. You know, should it be for like a health, health, or something else? Yeah, it'd be fun. She said, haha, yikes, better wear a mask.
Oh, yeah.
I can smell the cinnamon now. Ooh, that would be nice.
Yeah, imagine it.
That would be a fun one to do. Well, Kelly Turnbull is coming in April, and I think she's interested in seeing the San Mandala. So maybe...
What would be interesting, I'd like to, on a microscope, just take a couple of grains of sand and like with a microscope camera, so we could show different perspectives on the sand mandala, like a one grain and what it looks like, the detail, and imagine that crazy detail of one grain of sand multiplied by how many to get just a different sense of what's happening on other levels of magnification as I'm working. So that, unlike a lot of other art, I keep feeling like with these grains of sand, I keep feeling like like one moment I feel like I'm an airplane in the sky over some great big landmass, and this is happening like something that, you know, it's the sand that seems to aid that, and my imagination, of course, but it gives me that feeling that it could be any size possible.
Yeah, there we are.
Where are we? How much do I have in here? I don't know if you can see that, but can you see the pink? How it sticks inside?
Yeah,
Like that's even if I do this.
yeah.
So it's
Well, when I'm in town, I'll look for pipe cleaners as well.
cool.
Where would I find? Would it be at not a drugstore?
They don't have a pipe store, do they?
Oh, you know, maybe the dollar store would have them. Sometimes
Yeah,
they have.
all colored ones.
Yeah. Okay, I'll look for them. So it'll be interesting looking at the textures of the different powdered spices. That'll be
yeah.
a lot of them will be a lot finer than even sand.
Oh yeah. And so some may work, some may not. I have no idea yet I might have to modify things to work.
Because it's not really granular as it is powder.
Powder, yeah.
Be interesting.
And not necessarily very heavy. But it will be fun.
Terry Ann made a suggestion. She said, if it's humidity related, maybe try a dryer sheet to rub down the interior. Like a dryer, like you mean for the washing machine?
An actual dryer
sheet.
Oh, that's an idea, because I have thought about that. I thought even if I blow into it, I'm creating humidity, which then may make the next one stick more.
That's great. It's a good idea, Ter. We'll give it a whirl. Like bounce, she said. Okay.
And now I have a nice bouncy sand mandala.
Oh, I love when you see it coming to some level of completion.
It is oddly enjoyable.
It is.
There's something weirdly satisfying. You know, it's a little bit, you know, everyone's looked at the old egg timer sand timers of the little trickle of sand pouring onto the pile and slowly building. This is like that, only more freedom to move it around.
Are you gonna run out of sand?
Oh, you just took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh,
It's something that I was calculating beforehand, and I just had to say, well, if I have to, I'll have to remix, and it'll take me a lot of time to get the right tone, but I'm hoping that it will not run out. So let's all put our hands together and pray. with Brother Damon. We could start the Church of Sand.
No more churches, please. Got too many already.
How about the church? I don't know why that just somehow changes a little bit.
Tyrion's laughing.
Yeah, it's also why I'm trying to be careful not to put it on too liberally, is so that I don't use it up.
That's cool.
But that's the difficult part when you mix a color. You either mix tons of it so you have another bottle, which I would eventually do with some tones that I know I'm going to use a lot. Like when I buy a whole bunch more sand, because the sand goes quite quick too.
Yeah.
Considering like a pound doesn't go that far.
No. And you're kind of bound by the colors that are made
Yeah.
available, and
Yeah,
they're not
and they're not
necessarily the best choices. And when you try to mix it, it doesn't mix. You just get particles of different colors to make sort of a.
Yeah, I mean, I can try mixing.
As you can see
More.
here, there's bits of blue that you
Yeah.
mixed in with it.
But I can try mixing in different ways. I mean, I've just shaken a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't put a lot of work
But it's interesting to note that.
in. Oh, yeah.
That the way that the sand itself behaves.
Maybe I could eventually buy the stock sand and mix it myself.
Yeah.
That's another thing, right? Mix the color first and then dye the sand. But I have to do some research or exploration. How to dye sand? Be cool to do it on a beach. Like just a large scale. Yeah, so it's very much easier to go sideways like this
Yeah.
than to go this way, which then my hand would go
Yeah.
at some point. What I do like is I can have these little scattered bits of blue everywhere, and I can just ride right over them with the sand, which is very appealing.
So Terry says you should look into how to affix the sand and sell some. Not sure what you mean, Terry.
I do, I know what she means.
Okay.
So that the sand doesn't blow away.
Right.
The only thing is, I mean, there would have to be just an art form based on sand mandalas, because it wouldn't have the same, like part of this ceremony, if you want to call it that, is the blowing, you know, sweeping it away and putting it in running water and stuff to make the energy of it happen, part of it. So those would just be pieces of art based on a sand mandala, but wouldn't have the same effect, according to the Tibetan sand ceremony. But it would be cool in so many ways.
So my question to you is, why would you want to put it in the water this time as the option when everything is frozen?
Oh, well, I wouldn't if it's frozen.
Yeah.
Like, that's as simple
But
as that.
instead of burning it, which would be more expedient.
Oh, I just felt like doing something different.
What was that?
I'm checking. Okay, my previous kind of running out of it.
Some mischief made in your room.
Okay.
He wants to go in the bedroom. Would you mind letting him in, Allison?
Okay, please.
Thank you.
Will we make it with the? I need people to vote. Will I make this whole thing with the sand that I have?
The arrow, will it be completed with what you got?
Yeah, so I'll draw the line so that this is where I'm drawing the line. Right here. It's all about where you draw the line. That is my philosophy. Or whether you don't draw a line. But yeah, so for the rest of this color, as you can see, to match the other side, do you think I have enough in my little teeny jar there, bottle, to fill this in? We're taking votes now. The winner gets a dot tattooed anywhere they want.
Terry Ann said this is addictive to watch, and yes, have faith, it's like the oil lasted the 9 days of Passover. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see. You might just do it there, dude.
So that's my space that I have.
So this is what needs to be filled with what's left of the sand, which is
That.
that.
I
It
feel
may just-
optimistic.
I do too. I feel more optimistic. Jeff says, you can do it.
Jeff, we need you here with your camera
I
to
know.
take some lasting pictures.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
You could like do ones from angles and really close up macros and stuff. It would be really fun. Do a whole study just on a salmon dollar from the Jeff perspective.
He said he'd love that.
Okay, when can you get here?
Well, so I gotta get here for this one.
Yeah, for this one. If he got in his car right now, it's about let's say 4.5 hours just to be sure from where he is. I've come a long way though, because I remember the beginning when I started, I'd be doing this, and then this would fall off, and it would bang on the thing, and I go, oh man! And now I finally got the feel of at least that part. Will we make it?
think you're gonna just make it. Oh, Terry Ann asked, do you just have to fill the instrument with little bits at a time? Like, couldn't put more in? Or?
I could put more in, but I so far just haven't explored having it so full, and I'm just concerned, especially this one has a very small trough, that I might become oblivious to it and then have it pour out the back or something while I'm working.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, we're getting down there. Down there. Ooh.
Also, somehow, it feels like if I put in little teeny amounts, somehow it's going to last longer.
The games people play with themselves.
Yeah.
Like I feel my feet want to almost run. Just the excitement of watching it fill in. Is it gonna last? Is it gonna...
I know, it's a sort of an interesting tension.
The tension between potential and manifestation. That's what we've been exploring here. That tension and how to keep your mind and body as relaxed as possible as this tension rides up and through and down and around. It really is a mindfulness practice.
Oh yeah, Tibetans definitely engineered this for a purpose, and it wasn't just the look of it. That's the tip of the iceberg, as we were talking about.
And then after all, you know, because in our Western culture particularly, we're so obsessed with, you know, like having something to show for our efforts and so on. And with this, it's completely brushed away and put in a rushing stream or burnt in fire.
Well, Goethe said that this, Goethe and David Bohm, both in different ways, said that this world, we put so much emphasis on like hard fact, physical reality, that the physical reality becomes the hard fact in their way of evaluating. They, as in the ones that orchestrate everything, and it puts the deeper stuff on the back burner, whereas it really is the other way around.
Yeah, it's the energetic that informs the physical.
Because really, if you cut off the tip of the iceberg is still more or less the same. It's going to have a new tip.
Looking good.
But if you cut off the iceberg and leave the tip, then you just have a little teeny. It's not the be all and end all. Just smoothing out something. Okay, so.
Down to the wire. Oh, go gadget, Terry says. Oh, I know. I can feel it. Just want to finish the 2 arrows there for now.
I can already picture my school of tattooing. My students, while they're here, they'll get up at 4 in the morning and put in 2 hours of sand mandala before they eat breakfast, and then go out and shovel poo in the alpaca yard, and then
It's the zen of poo. We don't just call it shoveling poo.
then they'd have to jump in the lake in a little hole cut in the ice.
We don't have a lake, dude.
And we have them somewhere around here. We have a million of them.
Make one.
And then they have to dig down and scoop out sand and bring it back to dry and color
Oh, man.
while they're shivering. And that's how they create the dots on their tattoo, is from shivering.
Master, you are, yeah.
I say, and when you can snatch the grain of sand from my palm, little grasshopper. When you can snatch the dot from my hand. And then it takes them all those years and they realize the dot was tattooed on his hand. He never snatched the dot.
Dot snatcher.
Whoa, I've been called worse.
I'll bet. My phone is running out of juice, so you better get this done, dude. We got 2 things going against us, so.
Okay, so
But
we're
I think
almost there.
they're gonna definitely make it with the sand. It's just whether my phone will live up to the task.
Well, that's all part of the suspense. If your phone runs out, Ray,
Oh no, don't start.
wait, no, listen. If your phone runs out, quickly grab my phone, and everyone can jump to my live feed 2 seconds later. To
It
see
won't be 2 seconds.
Well, 30 seconds, whatever.
Play in it. Ah, oh, plug it in, she said. Play in it.
Yeah.
I need my glasses on, Terry. I can't see the book.
I'm gonna get my extension.
Yeah. Just, I don't have to pull it away from this right now. I'm just gonna bear with it. We'll see.
Oh, you are such a.
Ah, Jeff laughed. Yeah, it's a fucking apple, Jeff. They are no good, especially in the cold. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, it's the worst thing in the world. I could have 100% battery power, and I go out in the cold and it dies, 5 minutes later, videotaping, and I come in and after it warms up, it's still got the battery power, so it, go figure.
Yep.
What, only used in warm weather?
Yep.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, our Apple phones are more like Granny Smiths.
That's right. You don't like, they're sour? Is that what you're saying?
Sour and old.
And indigestible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I shouldn't be joking about Granny Smith because I'm a grandfather.
Yeah. And I'm a grandmother, so there. Oh, great. There's Jeff going by, plowing our front yard, our driveway, and then down by the dogs. It's like, man, when the snow comes here, it's no joke. No joke at all.
It's no joke. It's no joke.
Yeah, I would need to unplug something that you have here so the overflow cord to reach you.
Oh, I'm not going to worry about it. It is what it is. It'll be what it is.
It adds to suspense.
It does.
After the suspense,
I know. Those people would be like, ah! It doesn't work.
this is not going to be long enough. No.
Oh my word. It is suspenseful.
Now keep in mind, I measured out a quantity of sand, just guesstimating what I think will be enough.
Well,
So, not patting myself on the back or anything, but it looks like I guessed reasonably well.
yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Oh, still coming out the other end.
I know, I'm kind of doing the...
We're in the last stretch of this.
Yeah, so part of the learning with working with sand like this, and I'm not there, but I'm just realizing that that's where I have to go if I'm to get better, is learning the flow of sand when it falls, to learn how to control it. Because there's only a certain amount you can do with the fine detail aspect of the brush. The rest is learning how to direct it by making these little ditches and banks. Because if I make my bank in a corner correctly, then I can pour my sand in there and it just fills to that perfect square pointed edge. Otherwise it doesn't matter how I do it. I'm trying to do a bit more.
Here for Terry Ann, a double dose.
Yes.
Does it come out faster when it's more sand in there? Curious.
A little bit maybe.
Well, good, then it'll compensate for my crappy phone. Anticipation is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm pretty convinced that when you're chanting during your tattoo session, Allison, that you're also charging this beautiful sand mandala.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Totally. And you know what? I think we may just get it done in time for you to brush it away.
Cool.
Well, we will do it.
When are you leaving, Allison?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe then.
We'll do a late shift tonight.
Yeah.
And then it's just
okay.
the outer outline. If you get up early in the morning, it can be done.
Okay, I'll be working till 3 in the morning or something, but that's cool. I can do that if I'm not tattooing tomorrow. Although I have to pick up the... Maybe you can see if I can pick it up on Sunday.
They don't open on Sunday.
Ah.
But you don't have to go there. You have till 2
I can go
o'clock.
there later. Okay, whoa, that's a whole lot of... Remember, I have to be awake enough to drive that thing for only the second time.
I'll put your
Up
happy
on.
light on and I'll make you a coffee. How's that?
Yeah, but you didn't hear what I have to do.
I know what you have to do.
What do I have to do?
You have to load it onto the trailer.
I have to
load
drive it up a little ramp that it fits exactly on. It is so tight when it gets up on the trailer that only I can squeeze out the doorway.
Okay,
It's
Mr.
that tight.
But you're Mr. Precision. Look at you here. We're almost done.
Huh.
And last time I had Jeff directing me, like, woo, not too much that way, not too much this way. Or else I'd drive right off the edge of the trailer.
Oh my God, we did it!
Wow.
Now I can just... Is there anything that's missing? So maybe I could have had a little bit more. And Confucius says, always keep a little bit of sand aside in case you make a mistake somewhere and have to repair it. I think it was Confucius.
Doesn't matter. There's another angle. That looks really cool in this angle. Can you move that bottle out of the way? There we are. Oops, my finger. Duh. Beautiful. Okay, it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Leaning over this.
Especially from that one time.
I know.
She dropped her phone right on the board. I was like,
I was like, ah. No.
she was doing like a super close-up, and it hit here, but everything went. It just was softened. All the little detail lines all went fuzzy. And
Thank you, folks, for joining in. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. Check back with us later tonight. We'll get some more work done, and definitely tomorrow morning before 10. Before 10, we'll be doing the brushing. Allison will be doing the brushing. Okay, bye, folks. Say bye. See you tomorrow. Bye.
there, it's kind of the thing to do.
That's so Richard Nixon. Duh. Okay.